Kia ora, good evening. The first day of competition at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games went as scripted for Southland supercyclist Eddie Dawkins. The world champion sprint team of Ethan Mitchell, Sam Webster and Eddie Dawkins were pre-games favourites for the event and had broken the game's record in qualifying and then again in the final. The exuberant Dawkins immediately lifted his bike above his head, saluting a block of New Zealand fans following the record-breaking victory over the English trio. "We came here to win gold, and to walk away with that is just unreal," Ethan Mitchell told Sky Sport. Dawkins next competes in Saturday's individual sprint quarterfinals. In the year to June 2013, New Zealand local authorities' spending on core services or operating expenditure declined from $8.5 billion to $8.3 billion.
Statistics New Zealand Local Authorities Statistics Manager Michelle Lloyd says this is the first fall in operating expenditure in the 20-year history of the survey. Local authorities' operating income increased 1% to $7.9 billion. Income from rates increased $90 million in 2013, the lowest increase since the global financial crisis in 2009. Most councils showed increases, but these were offset by a 3.4% decrease in Auckland City Council's income from rates. Once capital transactions are considered, the operating balance of local government is a surplus of $1 billion, up $524 million on the 2012 year surplus and the highest since the financial crisis. Total New Zealand local government net worth was $101.3 billion at 30 June 2013, up 1.7% on June the previous year.
A new minerals operator is set to enter the New Zealand market with 5 exploration permits awarded to international minerals exploration company Lynx. The Canadian-backed company has been awarded 3 permits to explore land near Murchison and another 2 permits covering 168 square kilometres in the Longwoods west of Invercargill. Lynx will spend around $3 million over the first 3 years and could rise to $7.5 million within 5 years if the work is successful. The company will explore for metallic minerals including platinum, which is used in automotive, agricultural and aerospace industries, as well as fuel cells and solar technologies. Counting back 100 years, the world was on the brink of war, with Austria's declaration of hostilities against Serbia coming on the 28th of this month and setting off a chain reaction that would see New Zealand involved on the 4th of August. Southland at Gallipoli 1915 to 2015 project convener Dr. Aaron Fox is philosophical about the world then and now.
The men who enlisted 100 years ago next month, real people from our community. And so it's understanding what they went through and trying to make sure that the lesson they brought back, which was never do this again, it's something we actually need to learn. And I don't think we have in 100 years.
I think looking at the timeline, I think that the next big event in the centenary is the 28th of July when Austria declared war on Serbia and of course things followed pretty rapidly after that.
It's amazing to think an event in the Balkans, the former Yugoslavia, could trigger people enlisting in Invercargill a month later, isn't it? But you're right, 28th is Austria declaring war on Serbia, the Russians supporting the Serbs, the Germans supporting the Austrians, people mobilising against each other. That brings in the French, then it brings in the British reluctantly, it brings in the British Empire, and it's all on. But for the 4th of August, Britain declares war, and that involves us.
And here we are in the Invercargill City Council foyer here, in front of the colours for the company that left from Southland. And looking at the battle order there, they did participate in most major engagements, didn't they?
Yes, they did. The colours behind us are for the Southland Regiment, and they contributed an infantry company in 1914. And the stand of colours we have here just to my left here is the Standard, which actually has the battle honours of the 8th Southland Company. So as you say, they took part in Gallipoli and right through to the end of the fighting on the Western Front and everything in between.
What do we know of those men at the moment? Were there any that actually saw the whole war from beginning to end?
There were a few, but I mean they weren't in the front line the whole time. The story of a soldier such as James Hargest, who enlisted 100 years ago as a sergeant, becomes a lieutenant, serves through the war, but there are times there when he's wounded and he's out of the front line or he's in training. But he was still there in 1918 when the war ends in November and then carries on through to Germany afterwards for the Army of Occupation. So a small number of our men do see the whole war through, but they're not fighting that whole time. There'd be a rare man who could survive 4 years of intensive combat.
Now, on the 4th, the Southland Museum and Art Gallery have got the exhibition opening, and you yourself are speaking soon after that, aren't you?
That's right. It's the Southland Heritage Forum on the 8th of August, which is the 99th anniversary of the Battle of Chunuk-Bair at Gallipoli, incidentally. We'll be talking there about the First World War, its significance for New Zealand. Jock Phillips will be talking about that, and I'll talk about the Southland Regiment, or Southland preparing for World War I, and what it meant here and what it then meant for our men heading overseas.
After the break, Matariki and Māori Language Week celebrations and the week that was. Welcome back. A lunch to celebrate Te Reo Māori Language Week and Matariki celebrations was an opportunity to share kōrero and kai amongst community staff and medical practitioners at Southland Hospital today. Some staff have been expanding their own understanding and broadening of Te Reo with lessons on site in their own time, and it's paying dividends when it comes to patient relations.
Education is absolutely important across the board within medical services, and we have an initiative that commenced at the beginning of this year where Te Aroreo, which is based at SIT, are coming in to support staff in learning Te Reo Māori, and there's a huge number of staff that have engaged in that process.
What are the patient benefits that you're seeing from this new language that they're learning and sharing?
Very simple things. When Māori are greeted with Te Reo, kia ora as an example, they feel a little bit more involved and understood by the healthcare practitioner, and it eases the engagement with that person.
As a cultural educator, it must be quite satisfying seeing more of this being rolled out into everyday use in this kind of facility. It's
always good to see people embracing Te Reo Māori, and it's really good to see the number of staff who are engaging in little ways. It's not uncommon to hear people greeting each other up and down the hallway with kia ora or morena and some of those other phrases that we are familiar with. If you've rung into the hospital, you may notice, and hopefully you don't notice it, but being welcomed and the phone being answered with kia ora is one of those initiatives that's been running now for a couple of years, and our telephonists have been very, very proactive in ensuring that they're doing that.
The Prime Minister's Scholarship for Asia is in its second year, and over 175 students have been awarded fully paid study opportunities from 6 weeks to 2 years to Asia. Representatives from Education New Zealand were in the south today promoting their scholarships at SIT and are expecting applications from Southland in the next funding round.
The idea is to send New Zealand students out to Asia, and that's to increase the internationalisation of our workforce, is to increase the connectedness between New Zealand institutions and those in Asia. It's also about being aware that Asia is going to be an important trading partner for New Zealand. Now, it is now, and it will certainly continue to be. And we need to be ready for that. We need to have a workforce who has some Asia understanding, cultural awareness and so on.
And because of that global trade and potential for that growth in the future, you are looking for students that are studying specific things.
Yes, we want the student study program needs to be shown. They need to demonstrate how that links to the New Zealand's trade and economic agenda.
It is a fully paid scholarship, so they could go for anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 years. How is the decision made about who gets the longer length of stay, for instance?
It's really up to the individual to say, this is the particular program that I want to do, and it's this, quantum long, and these are my reasons for wanting to do this particular program. This is the benefits, this is how it links to the trade and economic agenda. People, when they apply, people have to put a case and say this is what they want to do, and have lots of good reasons why they want to do that. It's an amazing opportunity to get out there, to look beyond the horizons, to think, well, if I'm going overseas, Asia is a great place to go. It's a fantastic place to study. There are some great institutions.
It was set-up time this afternoon at the Working Men's Club ahead of this weekend's 2014 Model Expo. The theme for this year's edition of the biannual IPMS Southland show is Frostbite and the Savage Climate. IPMS Southland President Lester Kidd says some of the highlights of the weekend include a World War I centennial display as well as a Vietnam War commemorative exhibition. Club members will also be conducting modelling demonstrations throughout the weekend. That's all from the news team for this week. Next up in sport, Woodlands captain Andrew McIntosh ahead of tomorrow's club rugby final. We'll leave you now with the week that was. Good night.